Self-Guide NYC. When will you have heroes Sam Harris and Charles Murray of bell
Oh
curve
my
fame
god. Oh my
come to
god.
explain why Pakistan ranks number 66 in the world on IQ? Is it biological? Or so we have our first troll. Yes, I love this. This is great.
Oh no.
So
Oh
self-guide NYC.
no.
Okay, I'm just gonna explain this really quick, right? Because
Okay.
so here's the thing: is IQ and intelligence biological overall?
Be right back.
Yes, largely. Okay, so what happens is it's like height, right? It's like height. Height is biological. You have a predetermined height genetically. Now, you will reach that maximum potential if you have good nutrition. If you don't have good nutrition and you're raised with suboptimal nutrition, you won't reach that height, that maximum height. So, is it biological? Yes, it's biologically determined, your maximum level. Is there an environmental element to it? Yes, there is. Because if you don't get the right kind of nutrition and the right kind of circumstances in your environment for you to be able to reach your height potential, you won't reach it. Okay, so that is the thing. Now, why is it biological? If I give you an extra chromosome, if you give you an extra chromosome 21, what's going to happen to you? You're going to drop 30 points in IQ. Okay, if I had to have certain mutations and I give you Angelman syndrome, you're going to drop several points in IQ. There are kids who are like 3 years old who can do 3-digit multiplications. So they can memorize 2,000 digits of pi, right? They can play piano like Mozart. So there is a heavy biological association with IQ, but to realize it, you need the environmental elements like nutrition. For like you'd have for height. To realize it, you do need environmental aspects to maximize that potential.
I don't think that's the question he's asking, Ali.
I know. I'm getting to it right now. So, because I know what he's saying, he's talking about how these guys, they talk about the racial differences. Now, in Charles Murray of the bell curve, right, and I disagree with him on a lot of things. Okay, he did say that there's a genetic and an environmental, both of these elements that go into the IQ, right? And then he was talking about racial differences. Now we know that in the last 25 to 30 years, that gap between different races, especially blacks and whites, that IQ gap is becoming smaller. So we don't know right now, what the answers are. No, anybody who says that they know, it's not as definitive, right? And there is every reason to think that there is an environmental. There's the same thing that's happening with height, is that it's not being maximized.
Let me okay, let's do this more simple. Okay, just because something is based on genetics, it doesn't mean the correlation of how it's distributed is going to match ethnicities. Okay, so you know what I mean? Like, yes, is IQ based on genetics have an influence on IQ? Yes, but again, the distribution of that could be even among different ethnicities, even though it's genetical, right? It doesn't mean it's correlated. And one thing else I want to point to is that it's amazing that you mentioned Pakistan, given that the same ethnic distribution in Pakistan is what we have in India. Okay, so India is not number 66. So given that Pakistan is number 66 and India isn't, that should give you...
We don't even know if Pakistan is number 66. I mean, all of these things.
Yeah, like whatever it is. Okay, like no, whatever Pakistan is, given that India is ahead in many different things. But you could see, like, people say, "Oh, in Pakistan is a mix of different ethnicities." You can't even talk about it like that. Yeah, but whatever it is, it's almost the same group of people that are in India, right? And you could see that the averages are going to be different. So you can see that it's going to be environmental factor that are the main indicators. Or here's a better example: North Korea and South Korea, right? Or like okay, actually, North Korea and South Korea, not just IQ, height, right? If you look, height is something that is based on genetics. But if you look at the average height in North Korea, is much lower than the average height in South Korea. So even something that is genetical is... you could see that environmental factor have such a heavy, such a major effect on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
People in North Korea and South Korea are other than what has happened in recent history, they have the same history, they have the same culture, they had the same culture, they were exposed to the same geopolitical factors, and they have the same ethnicity. yet even their average heights are massively different, like very different. So you could see the influence of environmental factor being so massive, right?
Yeah, that's a great
so
example.
Yeah.
Hey guys, if you want to join these streams live, get your comments and questions read by Ali and Armin and the guests, and most importantly, to get full access to the full video versions of all these episodes, become a patron. Link in the description below.